Secret Handshake Productions presents 221B, Adventures of the Baker Street Irregulars. Episode 5, Senato via Malet.
Hands in front of you, Holmes and Watson.
I'm sure this brings you no satisfaction, Inspector.
Only doing my job. Though walking you out in handcuffs will surely be remembered as a highlight in my career. Into the carriage, both of you.
Sherlock! Dr. Watson!
Inspector, they couldn't have done this.
Not another word from you lot. Bugger off, or I'll end up in handcuffs as well.
Sherlock!
Clear your mind, Wiggins. I hear the soprano at the opera has quite a voice that always calms the nerves.
What are you on about? Get in!
What? They're innocent. They were with us the whole time.
We have to explain to Lestrade.
He won't listen to us. No one will.
It's all our fault.
Brilliant work, Dr. Van Davies. If you'd have come up with your little concoction sooner, we wouldn't be in this mess.
It's not my fault. If you two tied Evelyn's bonds tighter, she wouldn't have gotten away, and Sherlock wouldn't have come back here.
Stop it, both of you.
Well, perhaps if Cartwright hadn't tipped Evelyn and Bigby off to us, Sherlock wouldn't have been dragged into this in the first place.
We don't know that.
This isn't helping.
Adelaide and Wiggins are the ones who told us to rush in while Evelyn was up there with Holmes and Watson. If we hadn't done that, she wouldn't have run off.
That's enough. Everyone, be quiet! We could talk day in and day out about who's to blame. We've all caused our share of setbacks, but the truth is that this plot has been in motion for months. Sherlock was involved long before we even found the sheet music. For a long time, I wanted to prove myself to him. Perhaps that was foolish. We were all hoping to get something out of our arrangement with him, and it's clear that he had no intention of delivering. I'm not sure how to feel about Holmes and Watson right now, but like it or not, this case has fallen into our hands. No one can solve this but us. The Maestro is meticulous, calculating, brilliant. He's much like Sherlock in that way. But I have a strong suspicion that he has more planned beyond this sheet music. The blame doesn't matter. Justice, the truth, that's what's important. So stop squabbling and let's work together to solve this case.
He's right. Suppose so. Sorry, Baxter.
I'm sorry too.
We can't give up yet.
Exactly. Gotta hand it to you, Wiggins. You might have the makings of a good leader after all.
We're going to need more than that to suss out the Maestro. You're the brains, if I recall.
Indeed I am.
Then let's work this out together.
All right then. Let's start with what we know.
The Maestro framed key figures in London's law enforcement using various stolen items to frame them for murder.
To defame them, right? So that people wouldn't trust them?
Sounds about right.
The sheet music is encoded so that the Maestro's informants know what items to gather.
But won't tip off anyone who catches a glance at it.
The music itself doesn't mean anything, but the words written in plain English do.
But it's not all in English, is it? Senato via Malet. The title itself is written in Italian. It might translate to something useful.
Does anyone here speak Italian?
I barely know my way around the Queen's English sometimes.
Sherlock said something to me as Lestrade was taking him away. He said, the soprano at the opera has quite a voice.
The soprano at the opera?
That's Evelyn.
It almost sounds like he thinks we should talk to her.
I thought Sherlock didn't want us involved anymore.
He's up to something. He knows more than he's letting on.
That would make sense, though, wouldn't it? If Evelyn's an opera singer, she likely knows Italian. She could translate.
Then we'd best get to the opera.
Oi, you there. What are you doing round here?
It's a copper!
We were just,
The inspector told me about you. All them street kids that have been mucking about where you shouldn't.
No, I'm a very old man.
Nice try. You're all coming with me.
Blimey! He's out cold.
What happened? Mrs. Hudson?
He was bloody rude, wasn't he?
Is that a lead pipe?
Keep it round for when the boys get into a pinch. Not the first time I've cracked a copper upside the head.
Teach me.
Another time, Ruby dear. You've got a lot of work ahead of you.
Thank you, Mrs. Hudson.
Leggett, come on!
Wait! Baxter,
Me? What is it, ma'am?
Dr. Watson wanted you to have this.
Good. What's in this flask? A chemical?
He said you'll need this later on.
For what?
Wouldn't say. Only mentioned something to the extent of, real doctors must summon the metal to work it out on their own.
Challenge from one doctor to another, eh?
He also asked that I politely remind you that you are not a doctor.
Yes, ma'am.
Come along, Baxter. We have to go.
Best of luck, children. Be safe.
Looks like the next performance hasn't started yet.
But look, they got ushers guarding every door now.
Even the stage door in the alley.
Evelyn must be on high alert after being interrogated. This won't be easy.
So, what's the next step?
Back through the ventilation shaft.
Please, no.
I think a few of us should stay out here. We'll draw too much attention if we all try to get inside.
Smart.
I should stay out here and work out what Dr. Watson wants me to do with this vial of liquid.
All right. Opal, Ruby, the three of us will go in.
Well, how?
The stage door in the alley will draw the least attention. We should try that way.
But there's an usher blocking the door.
Adelaide, do you think you could distract him for a tick?
I could try, but Evelyn will get suspicious if no one's guarding the door.
That won't be an issue. Good evening, Mrs. Wilson.
Haven't seen anything dodgy, have you?
Nothing, Mum.
Good. Thank you. What's this? Costumes! This hamper is still full!
Don't keep your voice down!
Or we'll tell everyone who you really are.
What? Ugh, not you two again.
We're not done with you.
Not until you're behind bars.
No, Ruby. We just need some information, that's all.
Oh,
I already told you everything I know. You children mustn't involve yourselves in this. You don't understand what you're getting into.
Sherlock Holmes and John Watson have been arrested.
and it's your fault.
Not exactly, but I appreciate the enthusiasm, Ruby.
Well, she's accomplish.
Accomplice!
What?
What do you two even want?
Senato via Malet.
What does it mean?
If I tell you that, we'll both get hurt. Don't you understand? The less you know, the better. I'm actually looking out for you.
What do you care about us?
You're stepping into a world that doesn't discriminate between adults and children. These people will harm you if they get the chance.
Sir, if you please, you're making my job quite difficult.
I knew it! You were lying the whole time!
What is going on? You're supposed to be guarding the stage door.
Well, she told me she was from the upholsterer. Had to look at the chairs and the boxes.
The upholsterer? She's 12!
I'm 14.
If you've been lollygagging with her, who was at the stage door just now?
One of my finest performances, if I may say.
Oh, the actor? I can't believe I fell for that.
So you were convinced?
Yes.
Yes! Finally! Someone actually believed my performance!
Cartwright, pipe down.
What's all this hubbub? You little weasels.
Bigby?
Evelyn, why are you sitting here talking? We have our orders with these runts.
Bigby, let's cool off.
I'm not certain where your allegiance lies at this point. You whelps ain't getting away this time. Evelyn, what in the devil are you...
Cripes! You socked them both clean out!
The usher, Bigby, why did you...
Fantastic. You've gone and blown my cover.
blown your cover?
There it is. That funny accent that you do.
That's slightly insensitive, Ruby.
Are you American?
My understudy's going to love this. Surprised she hasn't tried to poison me yet.
Why are you packing your things?
Where are you going?
I hop around from place to place, all right? It's not safe here anymore, so I've got to go.
But what about the Maestro?
What about the Maestro? I did my job. I was going to have to leave soon anyway. I think he's selling his informants out to the cops.
But the sheet music!
Senato via Malet.
What does it mean?
The less you know, the safer you'll be. I've done some bad things, but I'm not going to be party to harming children.
Wait, who are you really?
Name's Irene, kid. Now I've got to go. Your mom, Arabella Adalbert. I heard about her.
You have?
There's something rotten in Scotland Yard, and the Commissioner's death didn't nip it out. The key to your mother's freedom, as well as others, lies in the Poor Law Commission.
What? How?
That's just what I've heard. You all stay out of the Maestro's way.
How did you know, Mum?
What do we do now? She was supposed to tell us what Senato via Malet means.
Don't make much sense, does it? Ain't even a full phrase.
What are you on about?
Wait, Bigby, do you speak Italian?
Learnt some at university. Few words at least.
You went to university?
Got sacked from university.
Tell us what it means! Or we'll hurt you! Somehow!
All right, sort off, I'll tell ya. Tired of this Maestro business anyhow.
Senato via Malet, Bigby. What does it mean?
Aren't you supposed to be the one with the big brain? Think about it. Malet isn't even an Italian word, it's a street name.
A street name? That's right. Mallet Street.
There's the Via Malay part, means Malay Street. Senato is the part I couldn't wrap my head around. It means Senate.
Senate Mallet Street. That don't make sense.
Almost sounds like an address.
Oh yeah, round Camden.
That's right.
Why do you say that?
Sometimes we watch people round the university in Camden.
There's a building there called the Senate House.
Come to think of it, it's on Mallet Street.
I see. Senato via Malay is an address. Senate House is on Mallet Street. That must be where the Maestro is hiding.
You children got a death wish.
Sherlock, the children need our help.
I know. Hold tight.
Quiet, both of you.
Would you mind explaining how Commissioner Shaw was killed?
Her throat was cut by your violin bow, Sherlock. Snapped in half.
Which means I am to blame, yes?
And your pocket square was found at the scene of the crime.
Lestrade, you know we didn't do this.
I have to do my job.
You're following the letter of the law. I tend to bend the rules from time to time, and that's why your employers have taken a dislike to me.
We have rules.
Then why do I close cases far more efficiently than any of your boys, Lestrade?
Holmes.
Do you think locking us up is going to solve this case? Is that going to make this more efficient?
The real killer is still out there. If you don't let us track him down our way, he's going to escape.
Oh, what the hell? It's only a career anyway. Stop the carriage!
This is bloody brilliant, Adelaide. Couldn't have done it without you.
Turns out Bigby was more helpful than Evelyn in the end.
Where'd she make off to?
Don't know, but I hope she's all right.
After everything she did to us?
I don't think it's that simple for her.
Well, that's her business. This is it.
Big building.
Dark, too.
I've never seen the streets so empty.
Oh, I've never been up this late.
Stay awake. There's a criminal mastermind somewhere in this building.
This place is huge.
We could be looking for the right room for hours.
Look at the locks on the doors.
Is this a school or a prison?
Big metal locks. I'd wager students get locked inside all the time.
They're just old locks, you two. Focus.
Hang about. We know what the words mean, but what if the numbers also mean something?
What numbers?
The numbers in the title. Movement 3, Opus 31, number 6.
I think I see where you're going.
Look at the room numbers. 134, 135, 136. 3 numbers each.
We're on the first floor.
Movement 3. That could correspond to the floor number.
316. That could be the room number.
We have to get to the 3rd floor.
You ever work out what that flask is for, Baxter?
Still trying to sort that out. It's cold. I can feel it through the flask. I think... Well, I'm not sure.
What?
Just thinking back to something I read in Bruce and Harper's Practical Chemistry. I think this might be liquid nitrogen.
What's that?
Bloody irresponsible to give to a child. Even I can tell you that.
Down this hall. Stay quiet.
The light's on in the room up ahead.
What's the number say?
Up there! 316!
This is it.
Wiggins, down here. The grating here. There's a crawl space that goes into the classroom.
All right. And?
Don't you think we should consider the possibility that we might need someone to send for help if things go sideways with the dangerous criminal mastermind?
Fair point. Opal, Ruby, you keep watch from the crawl space. If things go belly up, run for help.
Yes! Always me. Why?
Opal, please.
I'm going.
We're about to solve our first real case, you lot.
Or die.
More likely, yes. Oi! Maestro! By, order of Scotland Yard, you're under...
Wiggins! There you are. I thought you'd come around here soon.
What? Leon?
Isn't that the man you've seen around town?
What are you...
You certainly are a worthy successor to Sherlock Holmes. Brilliant work, my boy. Brilliant.
That's right. You teach at the University of London. Leon, the maestro, the mastermind behind this case, he's here in this building.
Wiggins.
If you know anyone who's still in here, you have to get them out. He's dangerous.
Wiggins.
What?
I think your friend is exactly where he wants to be.
What are you... 316 is your classroom. No. You're a good man.
You know, Wiggins, a year and a half ago I read an article in the Strand that set my mind ablaze. It was called A Study in Scarlet by Dr. John Watson. The elegance of Sherlock Holmes's observational mind spoke to me with such profundity. It was as though I was being seen for the very first time. Men of intelligence, of skill, such as him and indeed myself, are as gods in a world of bystanders. Why, then, does Holmes insist on placating to a system? A system which spurns him no less. To waste those talents on assisting bumbling lawmen in the hopes of scraping together enough coin to keep the lights on in a dusty old flat. It's beneath his station. The night I read Dr. Watson's first chronicle, I was abuzz, aloof. It was inspired, yet utterly disappointing. Had to clear my mind, so I went to the opera. Saw a production of Don Giovanni. Do you hear it? This is the duet between Don Giovanni and Zerlina in the first act. Laciderum la mano. It means, there we will give each other our hands. Wiggins, not a word of a lie. This old mathematics professor had a revelation from his box seat that night. If Sherlock Holmes refuses to use his gifts to take his rightful place above the troglodytes of today's London, I will show him a more refined and intelligent class of crime. And with hand outstretched, I will bid him elevate himself.
He'd never. Holmes doesn't need elevating, but he'll bring you down, he will.
Well, if he won't allow me to take the role of Zerlina, I will be content to play his ghost. As the music of Mozart's Don Giovanni brought me to the greatest revelation of my life, in one way or another, my music will sway Sherlock Holmes.
Ugh, what is all this rubbish in here?
Papers and books. Must use this as a bin for some of the things he doesn't need.
Look, through the grating here. I can see them.
Are they all right?
Seems they're just talking right now.
What's this? Oh, but what's it say?
Oh, give it here. University Directory, 1886. There's all sorts of names in here. If the Maestro teaches here, this might have more information about who he is.
How could you mastermind this? I thought you admired Holmes.
I certainly do. That's why it pains me to see him squander his gifts for the sake of petty do-gooding. I'm disappointed, Wiggins. I thought you'd understand.
Understand? You've killed people.
For a higher purpose. Scotland Yard is rotten to the core. Corrupt. Sherlock wastes precious brain space perpetuating a system that, as I have shown, only serves to work against him in the end.
So that's why you included Sherlock in your scheme? To make a point?
On the one front, yes. On the other, to bestow upon him some much-needed motivation, clarity, show him who his real friends are. Perhaps now he'll see that living to the letter of the law is foolish for men like us. Power, control. What use is our intelligence if we do not seize both? And now that Scotland Yard has been brought to its knees, I can.
But you helped us.
That's right. You suggested we speak with Pietro.
Pietro? Goodness, I'm surprised by your naivete. There is no Pietro, Wiggins. I made him up so that you'd go to that alley on Whitcomb. Then I sent Bigby after you to finish the job.
What?
You tried to kill us!
When we collided at that press conference on the steps of 221B, this entire plan had already been set in motion. But you were a piece on the game board I wasn't expecting. Holmes's little challenge for me. I'll admit, at first you didn't quite hold my attention. But when I saw you at the opera, I realized you children were perfectly capable of sniffing out my plot. Well beyond your years. I thought the best course of action was to stop you then and there. But then I discovered you persevered. It then became clear to me that you are made of more, like me. So I simply had to see how far you were capable of going. And you did not disappoint.
But what about Evelyn?
You helped us suss her out. Actually helped us.
Evelyn's part in my symphony was brief. As she does at the opera every night, she took the stage, sang her bit, and exit stage left. Her usefulness had expired. If she would have faced the law, just as well. One less informant on the streets for me to worry about.
All this time, you made me think that you actually cared. That you were being kind.
Oh, Wiggins. Dear boy, that was no act. To watch a young man with a mind like yours tumble over himself to prove his worth, only for Holmes to turn you away time and time again, brought me great pain. Truly. But you have proven yourself to me. I see the true value of your intelligence, and of course your friends are wonderfully supplemental. You needn't wander. You have a place in the world, Wiggins.
What are you trying to say?
Sherlock Holmes isn't the only one who has a need for eyes and ears.
You want me to join you?
Your talents are wasted with Sherlock Holmes. As you've said, I am kind. I understand you.
Wiggins would never. What does Leon take him for?
What's this?
What?
Here, in this directory. Classroom 316 to be vacated end of year.
What's that mean?
It means whoever was teaching in this classroom left. Or was sacked. This was 2 years ago, but that's odd.
What now?
Leon Pane isn't listed in this directory. Anywhere.
What do you mean?
His name's not in here. There's no record of Leon Pane in the books.
Hang about. What's this? It's a nameplate.
They must have taken it off the door and thrown it down here when he left the university.
What in... That's funny. This don't say Leon Pane at all.
What's it say?
Professor James Moriarty?
Wiggins, my boy, won't you say something? This is an immense opportunity. Will you not take it?
Take it? If you believe there's a fraction of possibility that I would join you, then you do not understand me at all. Sherlock Holmes looks out for the lowly. So too do I.
I am stung. As with Holmes, your sentiment limits you, which means I have 6 more loose ends to tie up.
Core blimey, he's got a gun.
You wouldn't shoot us.
Do you think I won't kill you because you're a child? This is the way of the world, Wiggins. The small-minded submit to the powerful.
He's locked the door. We'll never get out of here now.
The lock?
I think we can consider this belly up.
Let's go.
Would you 2 young ladies care to step out here and join us?
We're not affiliated with them.
Ruby?
How convincing. Out, now.
Real doctors must summon the metal to work it out on their own. Metal? Could it be? How could he have known?
Baxter, what are you on about?
Dr. Watson didn't mean metal like having a spine. He meant metal, like the metal that the lock is made of.
So?
Liquid nitrogen is an instant freezing agent. If I apply it to the lock, it'll make the metal brittle. We can break it right off.
Quiet down, both of you.
Adelaide, if you can keep Leon distracted, I can break the lock right off the door.
You can?
Yes, just do it.
This isn't the way I'd prefer things to go. I mean that. If you weren't going to choose the path of intelligence, you should have stayed out of the way.
Mr. Pane, that chalkboard behind you, it's got an Evelyn's name on it, as well as Bigby's. The numbers, what do they mean?
What are you buying time for, Adelaide? Hoping Mr. Holmes will turn up? He's been imprisoned by the people he's sworn to help.
Then there's no reason you can't delay our execution for a moment to explain.
Well, I'm not going to leave these people to skulk about the streets, am I? I've outlined all of their names and addresses, as well as the exact amount they were each paid to take part in my plan.
Ruby,
What?
And he turned his back. Charge him.
Are you joking? Finally, about time I get to charge someone.
Get
ready, Baxter.
If you look here, I've even gone to the effort of listing defining physical features of each.
Ow!
Resorting to violence, are we?
Get his gun!
Got it!
Baxter!
All right!
Cartwright, break it!
It broke!
Everyone leg it!
Don't think I won't track you lot down if you try to run!
Let's not run in the halls, children. The prefects don't appreciate it.
Sherlock.
Fascinating. This is most unexpected.
You extended an invitation. It would be rude not to make an appearance.
That I did, Mr. Holmes. That I did.
Invitation?
Your friend wanted to be found, Wiggins. Otherwise, he wouldn't have put his address at the top of the bloody sheet music.
How choice! I knew there was a possibility you'd show, but I had not calculated the chances to be high.
You neglected a few key factors, but I must say this was a most elegantly crafted plot. Though I deplore your actions, you have my respect.
I truly appreciate you saying so, Mr. Holmes.
We're not here to fraternize, Sherlock.
As a professional courtesy, what may I ask tipped you off?
Oh, the sheet music bit was easy. The first glance Wiggins gave me of it in my flat, I sorted it all out.
You did?
Of course. The time signatures on each of the lines, save for the first, have no basis in music theory. 2-4, 2-12, 2-17, and 2-17 again. Their dates. February the 4th, the 12th, and the 17th. The day each murder was to take place. The measure over which item was set to enter indicated what time the killing was to happen. On Coroner Wesley's line, for example, enter, hunting knife, apron, was written in the 4th measure. The murder he was framed for occurred at 4 o'clock. Part of your game was setting it out plainly, down to the hour, right in front of the reader's eyes, though they couldn't see it.
How did we miss all that?
Easily, it seems.
If you knew how serious this was the whole time, why didn't you help us?
Commissioner Shaw was looking for a reason to put Sherlock and I away long before we were framed for murder.
It was best we kept our involvement in the case limited. Besides, we had a team of dependable detectives to take on the challenge.
Detectives? You mean...
You solved the case, didn't you, Wiggins?
You deduced all that with one glance. You're bloody brilliant.
But what about what you said in the alley? Why did you drop us if you knew we were your only hope at solving this case?
Though I didn't know, based on what I saw on the sheet music, who the framing targets were, it became clear to me after interrogating Evelyn that she knew I was to be framed next. She was very generous. She made sure I knew.
She did?
In her way. For a moment, it was like we spoke a language no one else speaks. It's a funny feeling, really. I'm not sure I like it.
But why'd you sack us?
I was right cross about that.
The moment I realised we were to be framed next, I knew it was already done. Returning to Baker Street meant submitting to arrest, and I had to ensure you weren't brought in by Scotland Yard as well. So I made you believe our arrangement meant nothing to me by generally being horrid to you, thus putting you all in a state of anger and sadness, creating physical distance between us so that you could continue working brilliantly.
You put on a performance!
So you didn't mean any of it?
The greatest lie I told you, Wiggins, was that you were somehow in the way, when you were in fact leading the way.
What I don't understand is how you knew to give me the liquid nitrogen for the lock, Dr. Watson. How did you know we'd need that?
I earned my doctorate at the University of London. These bloody locks were a source of great anxiety.
And how, may I ask, did you manage to make it here? According to my plan, you were to be in a cell right now.
Your plan accounted for the framings to occur by the letter of the law. This worked well enough for the police officers within Scotland Yard, but for me, there was a variable you neglected to consider.
That being?
The relationships I've formed. I'm not the most personable fellow, but I have earned a scrap of Inspector Lestrade's trust over the years. He knows John and I well enough to know that if we were going to murder someone, we'd do it more elegantly than a violin bow to the throat.
We convinced him to let us go so that we could find the real perpetrator.
The Maestro, Professor James Moriarty.
Moriarty?
My, even that you worked out. I must know how.
Well, that was obvious, wasn't it? You were at the press conference. The moment Wiggins told me your name, I knew. Leon Pane. It's an anagram. Shift the letters around and you get another name. Napoleon.
You're quite modest in terms of self-image, Professor Moriarty.
But it is who I am. We are both intelligent men, though we use our talents for different purposes. Surely you can see why I'd be drawn to conquest.
Yes, of course. Despite your missteps, this case was a thrill to pull apart. I must thank you for the singular mental stimulation.
The pleasure is all mine, Mr. Holmes. To think what we could accomplish together.
We'd be a force, there's no doubt. But, unfortunately, I already have an ally at my side for my misadventures.
You would also be engaging in criminal activity, which is wrong.
Yes, that too.
Do not hide behind some false sense of altruism, Holmes. We both know you do this for the thrill of the hunt.
Oh, most certainly. But unfortunately, even if I had the inclination to shift my moral paradigm, you heinously manipulated this young man and his friends. And that angers me, Professor. You tried to do him harm, a fool's errand, I am sorry to say. This boy is under my protection. So too are they all.
I thought you'd be smart enough to see sense. How deeply disappointing to know I was mistaken.
As much as I appreciate this string of confessions, what say we put an end to this grandstanding and take a trip down to the precinct? Shall we, Professor?
Chief Inspector, Scotland Yard's most indispensable baboon.
Not the worst I've heard. Come along.
I very much look forward to our next meeting, Mr. Holmes. Best of luck.
Smoke bomb?
Where'd he go?
He's gone.
Look, down there.
Right where he was standing.
There's a trap door.
A long ladder. Down to the basement catacombs.
I'll have my men start a search immediately.
You can do that if you'd like, but I don't suspect you'll find him. He's been plotting this for a long time. He had his plan of escape ready long before we arrived.
So we just let him get away?
It would seem we don't have a choice.
What's all this on the chalkboard? Names and addresses?
He's tying up his loose ends.
Makes my job easier. Listen, both of you. I know we've had our differences, but it's clear I owe you my thanks. All of Scotland Yard does. I can't promise everyone will be accepting of your help. Truthfully, even with Shaw gone, there will still be quite a bit of resistance to your affiliation with us. But after this, I can make an easier bid for it. We'll be in contact when next we need you. And if what happened here is any indication, that will likely be sooner rather than later.
We appreciate you saying so, Inspector Lestrade. We look forward to serving Scotland Yard.
And I look forward to causing you great distress, Inspector.
I'll live to regret this. And you children. I still don't particularly know who you are, but well done. We couldn't have solved this one without you.
Thank you, Inspector.
Glad to be of service.
I say, Baxter. Brilliantly done with the liquid nitrogen. Handled like a true doctor.
A true doctor? Are you saying that I'm a real doctor?
Yes, of course, boy.
So I did it then. I'm a doctor.
All right, not so loud.
Does this mean that I can do surgeries now?
What? No, that's not what... never mind.
Sherlock, if you and Dr. Watson were released, what about...
Coroner Wesley, Officer Wells, and Officer Paxton have all been released to their families. They're doing just fine.
Oh, that's a relief.
You have more than proven yourself, Wiggins. All of you. I look forward to our continued partnership.
Continued partnership? You mean it?
I need my eyes and ears, don't I? Get some rest. There's more to come. Oh, Adelaide. I understand your mother was arrested for a crime she didn't commit.
Yes, sir.
We'll have a talk about that.
I suppose it all worked out in the end.
It did. He's really going to help me.
And I'm really going to work with him.
And I'm really a doctor.
No, you're not.
With all those bleeding chemicals, he's gonna blow something up one of these days.
Where do you think Moriarty went?
I don't know, but we'll have to stay alert. He could turn up anywhere.
We'll be ready. Both Mrs. Hudson and Evelyn told me things that gave me hope. Real hope that I can get my mum free.
We'll look into it.
Oh no, not this.
Here now? This late?
What is it? Just open the door.
Oh, this is my least favourite part. I hate what's about to happen.
What's about to happen?
We, haven't quite had the chance to prepare you for this bit yet.
What bit?
Whoa.
My public.
Oh, let's get this over with. I hate having my picture taken.
I understand if this is a bit overwhelming, children.
We'll answer any questions you may have.
Oh, all right, well.
Who was the culprit of the Scotland Yard framings?
A dastardly villain.
He lied to all of us.
I dressed up like a theatre usher.
And I froze a lock and blew it to smithereens.
I don't understand any of that.
Can the people of London trust in Scotland Yard again?
They certainly can.
Except for the rotten coppers who still work there.
All right, all right.
Mr. Holmes, Dr. Watson, who are these children with you?
Ain't it obvious? We're Sherlock Holmes' eyes, isn't it?
And you can call us the Baker Street Irregulars.
Thank you for joining Secret Handshake for the final episode of 221B, Adventures of the Baker Street Irregulars. This series was written and directed by Elliott Brotherhood. The voices featured in this episode include George Lorimer as Inspector Lestrade, Max Pink as Sherlock Holmes, Thatcher Jacobs as Wiggins, Silver Anderson as Adelaide, Leo Madson as Cartwright, Edward Owczarski as Baxter, Josie Van Slyke as Opal, Zoah Hirano as Ruby, Stacy Madson as Mrs. Hudson, Rebecca Kent as Evelyn, Joe Picchetti as Bigby, Demetrios Troy as Leon Pane, and Mikkel Knutson and Joe Boersma as Londoners. Thank you for listening.